They didn't knock right. Too quiet. Too even. Like they'd rehearsed it. He stood on the other side of the door holding a tin cup and waited for a second knock. It came. Same rhythm. He opened. 2 boys stood there barefoot, shirts stuck to them with sweat or rain. Blood ran from one of their knees. The older one stared past him like he wasn't even a man, just a door frame. The younger one gripped his arm. No bags, no hats, just them and the dark. He didn't speak. I didn't need to. They stepped in like they'd been here before. He shut the door behind them and slid the latch. The older boy looked around once, then asked, "You got any water?" He nodded. I walked to the sink, ran the tap till it cleared, passed the cup over. The boy took it, gulped, didn't wipe his mouth, handed it to the younger one. "Sit," the man said. They did. One on the edge of the sofa, the other on the floor, like they'd done it before, like they'd been taught not to touch things. He looked down at their feet. "Is that your blood?" The older boy shrugged. "Some of it." The younger one whispered, "Not ours, mostly." The man raised his brow. "You boys in trouble?" "Depends who's asking." "I'm not the sheriff." The older one nodded. "Then no." He didn't press. I walked to the stove, put on a kettle. The silence in the room wasn't awkward, just tired. "You run far?" he asked. "Far enough they won't scream our names anymore." "How old are you?" "It doesn't matter." "Did to someone." The older boy's jaw tightened. "He's 9. I'm 12 or 13. Nobody carved it anywhere." He poured tea when the kettle screamed. No sugar, just steam. "Set the mugs down." "You got names?" The younger one answered. "We don't give those no more." "All right. You got one?" He thought for a second. "Had a few." None stuck. They drank in silence. The boys glanced around the room like they were looking for traps. Nothing fancy. Couch, stove, a bookshelf with one leaning photograph face down. The younger one pointed. "Why's that picture turned?" "Don't want to see it." "Who was it?" "My mother." The older boy stood. I walked to it, flipped it face up, stared. "Don't touch it," the man said, not moving. The boy didn't. "She has hard eyes." "She sang too much," the man said. "Made folks think she was kind." "Was she the one who made that?" The boy pointed at the quilt folded over the couch arm. "She did." The younger one slid his hand across the stitching. "I know this." "You don't." "I do." The older one sat again. "She used to sing while sewing. Made us hush when she hummed. Said the thread got tangled if we lied too loud." The man stared at him. "Where did you hear that?" "Every week. They made us sing her hymn." "What hymn?" The younger one opened his mouth and sang the first line. The man dropped his mug. It cracked but didn't shatter. "Stop." The boy's lips froze mid-word. "Where did you learn that they taught it to us?" "Every Tuesday. Called it sorting day." The man stepped back. "Sorting? You sang if you wanted to stay." He turned away, gripped the sink. Water still ran. He shut it off. "They said she wrote it." The older one added. "She did." "You got more of her stuff?" "No." "Bet she made more quilts." He spun. "You don't get to ask that." "Is she yours?" "Yes." "She was ours too." He froze. "No." The older one's voice didn't rise. "She worked at the White House with the cross." The man stared. "You know it?" "Been burned for 10 years." "Not enough." The younger one stood. I walked to the window, pressed his palm to the glass. "They still keep kids there." "No, they don't." "You check." He didn't answer. "She left more quilts." "One on every bed," the boy said. "We saw your name stitched once." "No, you didn't." The older boy pulled up his sleeve, showed his arm, a thin white scar in the shape of a loop. The man stared. "They gave you that?" "We got numbers. Some got holes." The younger one said, "We just ran. We don't want nothing else." The man looked at the door. "If they come here, they won't. They only chase ones that they don't remember. You remember." The boy nodded. "All of it." The man walked over, sat on the floor beside them. They stayed like that for a while, just the 3 of them. Finally, the man asked, "You hungry?" The boys didn't answer. He stood, pulled a pan from the hook, lit the stove. Grease hissed. "Have you ever eaten eggs with hot vinegar?" "Sounds awful." "It is. She used to make it." The younger boy laughed once. "She said it cleared the lies out." He stopped cooking. The boy looked up. She said if you could swallow it without coughing, you were innocent. The man didn't turn. They ate at the table. No one prayed. No one talked. Afterward, the boys pushed their plates forward. The younger one started humming again. Same tune. The man didn't stop him this time. The oldest joined in. The man sat back, closed his eyes, listened, not like a song, like a memory digging out of a grave. The fire crackled, the photo faced up, and no one turned it back down. The stove hissed as he scraped the pan clean. The boys sat at the table, shoulders drawn in, eyes too old for their faces. He set bread down, nothing fancy, nothing warm. They tore it in silence. The younger one chewed slowly, eyes drifting back to the couch. The quilt hung there, folded neat, blue thread stitched into heavy squares, edges worn thin from years of use. The boy pushed away his plate and stood. I walked over without asking. He slid his fingers along the cloth, careful, almost reverent. "This was hers," he whispered. The man's head jerked up. "What?" The boy's hand trembled on the quilt. "Mama used to sing on this." The man froze where he stood, knife still in his hand, butter half spread. He flinched like struck. "Don't say that," he muttered. The boy turned. "It was hers." "You don't know what you're talking about." "I do." The older boy leaned back in his chair, watching. "You ain't never told no one who made that quilt, did you?" The man gripped the table edge. "How would you know that?" The older boy's eyes narrowed. "Because you'd be dead if you had." "They don't let that slip." The younger pressed his face against the fabric. "Smells the same. Dust and soap. I remember her voice here. She sat with us when the lights went out. Said the thread held stories." The man's voice cracked. "She never said that." "She did. Said every square was someone's name, even if she didn't stitch it yet." "Stop." The boy didn't. "She said ours was next." The knife clattered to the floor. The man bent, picked it up slowly, and set it on the counter. His hands shook. "You're lying." The younger boy shook his head, eyes wide. "She hummed to us. Right here. She never came here." "She did." The older boy spoke low and steady. "You think she kept 2 lives. But she didn't. She carried one into the other." The man's jaw tightened. "She died before." "She didn't." The older man cut in. "She was taken. Not gone." You know that he turned sharply. "You don't get to speak about her. Then why's her quilt here?" The silence stretched. The man's chest heaved. He wanted to throw it into the fire, but his legs wouldn't move. The younger boy whispered, "She sang the hymn while stitching. We weren't allowed to sing unless she started. Said the song kept us safe." The man slammed his fist on the table. "Enough." The sound echoed through the room, rattling the lone glass on the shelf. The older boy didn't flinch. "You're scared 'cause you know it's true. She stitched you in and thought it would hide you." The man turned his back to them. He stared at the wall, at the one photograph still upright. "What did they tell you about her?" "They said she was kind, but they said it like a curse. Kind means dangerous." He closed his eyes. The younger boy tugged at the quilt again, lifting a corner. Underneath, along the seam, a faint line of thread darker than the rest. Letters, faded, but there. He traced them. "Look, a name." The man spun. The boy sounded it out. "J, Stop reading that." "S." The man crossed the room, ripped the quilt from his hands, folded it fast, clutching it to his chest. His breath came ragged. "That ain't for you." "It's ours too." "No." The younger boy's voice rose, breaking for the first time. "It is." She promised. The man staggered back, quilt pressed to his chest. His eyes burned, throat tight. "She promised me." The older boy stood, slow, deliberate. Then she broke it. The man's head snapped toward him. "You don't know what she carried," he said. "We do. We lived it." The kettle whined, long and shrill. He didn't move to take it off the fire. The sound filled the room, high and piercing, until he finally reached out and shut the flame. Silence dropped heavily after. He laid the quilt back down, careful, smoothing the edge. His voice came quiet. "Tell me what they did when she sang." The older boy answered. "They lined us up. Called it prayer. She looked at each of us one by one. Some she touched, some she didn't. Those she touched stayed, and the rest? They vanished." The man's stomach twisted. He gripped the chair back, knuckles white. "She didn't choose," he said. The younger one shook his head. "She did. Or they made her. We don't know which." The man sank into the chair. His voice cracked. "She never told me." The older boy leaned forward. "Maybe she thought you were too soft. Maybe she thought you'd try to stop her." "I would've." The boy nodded once. "Then she saved you." The man buried his face in his hands. The quilt sat between them, heavy with silence. The younger boy reached again, gentle this time. "It's all right. She saved us too." In pieces, the man looked up, eyes red. "And what's left of her now?" The older boy's stare was flat. "Us." The man sat still. The house creaked around them. Somewhere outside, a dog barked once, then nothing. He whispered, "She promised me." Neither boy spoke again. The quilt lay across the table, letters stitched faint into its skin. The name was unreadable in the low light, but everyone in the room knew it by heart. He waited until they slept. The younger curled tight under the quilt like it still belonged to him. The older one laid flat on the floor, one hand resting on his chest like he was used to stopping something from crushing him in his sleep. The man stood at the edge of the room, arms crossed. He hadn't lit a lamp, just watched. Long enough to be sure they were under, long enough to notice how the older boy never really stopped twitching. He stepped closer, slow, quiet. The floor groaned. The boy didn't move. He crouched, reached out, lifted the boy's collar gently, just below the nape of the neck, between shoulder and spine, a healed patch of skin, raised, pale, branded in, not burned sloppy but pressed deep. A circle with a cross slashed through it. He knew that shape. His breath stopped. He dropped the collar, stumbled backward, hit the edge of the counter. The boy's eyes opened. "You saw it?" The man didn't answer. The boy sat up slowly. "You knew already, didn't you?" "I've seen it." "Where?" The man stared at the floor. "Where?" He swallowed. "It was in the barn. The one on Copper Ridge." The boy nodded. "You were inside?" "No, I was 13. My father took me hunting. We passed it. He told me not to look." "Did you?" "Of course I did." "Did you see the cages?" The man's face tightened. There were screams. The boy touched the scar just once. "They don't scream anymore." "That's the trick." The man sat on the edge of the table. "That barn burned down." The boy nodded. "On purpose." "With us in it." The man stared. "You were there?" "We all were. Until we weren't." The younger boy stirred, but didn't wake. He had the quilt wrapped so tight it looked like it was stitched to him. "Who set the fire?" "We don't know." "Maybe one of ours, maybe someone who thought they were helping." The man's voice dropped. "How many didn't make it?" The boy didn't answer. "How many?" "Too many to dig for." The room went still. The wind tapped the shutters. Somewhere outside, a branch snapped. The man whispered, "Why come here?" The boy looked at him like it was obvious. "Because she made this place safe once. Because she stitched your name into that quilt. Because her blood's in the boards. That doesn't mean it's safe now." "No," the boy said, "but it remembers." The man leaned forward. "You ever wonder why I stayed? Why did I never leave this place?" "No. I didn't want to forget." The boy nodded. "Then you understand." The man stood. I walked to the window, looked out across the field. Nothing moved, the same nothing that had sat there for 20 years. "Your scar," he said. "They used it to track you." The boy shook his head. "They used it to claim us. If you ran, they said the world would know who you were. And does it?" The boy pulled his collar higher. "Only if you believe it." The man's hand curled into a fist against the glass. "What kind of people?" "They weren't people." The younger boy stirred again. This time his eyes opened. "What are you talking about?" The older one answered. "He saw it." The younger one sat up. "The mark?" "Yeah." The younger one leaned against the couch. "I told you he knew. He's just been waiting to believe it." "I didn't know what it meant," the man said. "You did," the younger said. "You just prayed it was something else." The man turned from the window. "You two need to go back to sleep." The older boy laughed once. "We don't sleep." "We pretend," the younger whispered. "They came at night." "That's why we don't." The man knelt. "They're not coming here." "You don't know that." "I'd see 'em." "You didn't see us coming either." The man didn't argue. The older boy stretched his legs out. When she sang, they didn't come, but she only sang for some. The man frowned. You said that before. What does that mean? Means she couldn't protect everyone. So she picked the younger one, whispered. Means we weren't supposed to live. No. We heard her say it. The man's voice sharpened. She didn't mean it like that. She said, only the quiet ones. The room went cold. The fire had burned low. The man stood. You're safe now. You hear me? The older boy's eyes didn't blink. Not until we finish. Finish what? The younger one leaned in, putting the rest in the ground. The man looked between them. That barn. It burned down. That place is gone. You sure? He wasn't. The older boy stood. I walked over, lifted his shirt, showed the scar again. You gonna help us or not? The man stared at it, at what was left of something no one was supposed to remember. He nodded. Once. I'll help. The fire popped behind them. The wind stopped. No one said thank you. They just sat down, together, like the promise had always been there, waiting to be spoken out loud. The table was set with 3 chipped plates. He'd fried what was left of the eggs, burned the cornbread a little, poured milk that didn't smell quite right. Nobody complained. They sat quiet, chewing like they'd forgotten how food worked. He watched them more than he ate. The older boy still flinched at small sounds. The younger kept his eyes low. Neither said a word about the scar again. He cleared his throat. You boys got any place else you'd rather be? No, the older man said. Someone looking for you. Not anymore. Are you sure about that? Yeah. He leaned forward. And if someone knocks? The younger one answered. Don't open. You think they'd hurt me? They'd erase you. He didn't ask what that meant. He'd seen it done in other ways. Quiet ways. Ways that made the papers stop printing. The younger boy reached for the cornbread, broke it in half, handed a piece to his brother without looking up. He picked at his plate. She used to do that. The man said. Do what? The older asked. Split things. She said, hungry doesn't always mean empty. The younger one nodded. She said, full mouths lie better. The man looked up. Does she say that often? Every Tuesday? The same day. The sorting day. The boy glanced toward the quilt folded on the couch. She'd sit right there and hum till her throat dried out. She wasn't trying to hurt you. She wasn't trying to save us either. He didn't reply. They ate in silence for a while. The air was thick, not from heat, just memory. Then the younger boy did something strange. He sat up straighter, closed his eyes, and he began to hum. Soft, slow, familiar. The older joined in. Not hesitant, not forced. The tune rose like it had always lived in the walls. The man's fork slipped from his fingers. Hit the plate. Clattered. They didn't stop. He stood. Where'd you hear that? No answer. Stop singing. The tune softened but didn't break. He slammed his hand on the table. I said stop. They did. The sound dropped. The house went still. He stared at them. That's hers. You don't get to... The older boy said, it's ours too. You don't know what that song was. We do. You think it was comfortable. We think it was a warning. The younger boy whispered, she only sang it when they came close. The man's throat worked. He pulled out a chair, sat down hard. I remember her humming, he said. When I got sick. When my father left. When the men from town came looking for land. The older one nodded. She hummed when they picked kids. No. Same sound. Different reasons. The man stared at the table. She taught me that song. She taught all of us. But for different ends, the younger boy's voice was barely there. She changed the second verse. You know that? The man blinked. No. She changed the part about the well. Made it about sleep. Instead, the man stood. I walked to the corner, picked up an old tin recording box, clicked it open. Inside, a cassette marked in fading ink. For him. Tuesday. He held it out. Play it. The older boy didn't move. The younger one stood. I took the cassette with both hands, slid it into the box. When the tape rolled, the voice that filled the room didn't sound like memory. It sounded alive. Her voice, low, steady, beautiful. And halfway through, the words changed. The well verse wasn't about water anymore. It was about silence, about forgetting, about going under. The boys looked at him. He couldn't meet their eyes. The tape ended. The room felt hollow. The younger boy whispered, "You didn't know." "No." "But you kept it." "I thought it was just a lullaby." It was. But not for babies. The older boy said, "She sang them to sleep so they wouldn't fight." The man sat down slowly. "She thought she was helping." "Maybe she was." "Then why are you here?" The older boy leaned forward. "Because some of us woke up." The man looked at them both. "You think I can fix this?" "No," the younger one said. "But you can hold it," the older added. The man nodded once. Dinner stayed cold on the plates. No one moved to clean it. The tape clicked. The room stayed silent. And somewhere in the walls the hymn echoed back in memory. Not for comfort, but for witness. He couldn't sleep. Not with that song still circling in his skull. Not with those boys breathing under his roof. They'd curled up without a word. Just nodded once after the tape ended and let the quiet take them. Like they knew silence better than sleep. He stood in the kitchen, hand wrapped around a lukewarm cup of coffee, staring out at the back window. Then, without thinking, he turned. I walked to the attic hatch. The ladder groaned under his weight. The dust hit his throat first, then the smell. Wood, moths, something older. He hadn't been up here in years, maybe since she died. He pulled the cord on the single hanging bulb. It flickered, held. Boxes leaned in the corners, faded labels, torn tape. He crossed to the back, moved a chest marked linen. Then the crate under it. His hand brushed the wall, something hollow behind the boards. He tapped, felt the give, knelt, pulled back 2 slats. Inside, an envelope. He sat, hands trembling, slid the photo out, black and white, curled at the edges. His mother, younger, standing straight in nurse's whites. Her face was calm, not smiling, not hard, just steady. Behind her, a room of cots, neat rows, iron frames, thin blankets, children sitting on the edges, all turned toward the lens, all but one. In the far right corner, a boy sat apart, face in profile, eyes like flint, eyes like the boy sleeping downstairs. He pressed his thumb into the photo, then stopped himself. His mouth was dry. His stomach turned. He walked downstairs. The boys were still in the living room, one on the floor, one on the couch. He crossed to the younger, shook his shoulder. The boy blinked up. "What?" "Wake him." The boy sat up, reached over. "Time?" "No." Just up. The older boy opened his eyes. Didn't ask why. Just sat upright. The man handed them the photo. Neither moved to take it. He held it out farther. "Take it." The older one reached. I looked down. His jaw set. The younger one leaned over. "That's her." "Yeah." The man watched their faces. "Behind her," he said. "Far corner." The older boy stared. "That you?" He didn't speak. "You remember this?" "I remember the cot." "Do you remember her like that?" The boy traced the air near the photo. "She was quiet before the camera." "After it," she cried. Not loud, just enough to stain her apron. The man sat. His knees felt weak. Why would she cry? Because they told her to smile and she couldn't. She looked proud. She wasn't. The younger boy touched the edge. That was before the fire. What fire? The first one. The trial burn. The man's voice cracked. "You're in this?" The older boy nodded. "I was third from the end." The man closed his eyes. "I don't want this." "But you kept it." "I didn't know what it was." "You hid it in a wall." "I didn't." He stopped. I realized something. "She must have put it there." The boys looked at each other. "She wanted you to find it," the younger said. "No, she did." He rubbed his face. "You think she felt guilt?" "She felt everything." The older boy's voice dropped. "She named us. Even if she didn't write it down, she made us exist." The man looked at the photo again. "What happened to the others?" "Gone." "All of them?" "Not all." The man's chest ached. "Why didn't she say anything?" "She tried. You wouldn't have listened." He gripped the arm of the chair. "I loved her." "She loved you more," the older boy said. "That's why she lied." The younger boy whispered, "You think a good woman can't make bad choices." The man didn't answer. "She built that room," the older one added, "with lullabies and thread. But it was still a cage." The photo lay between them. The man touched the image of her face. I remember her baking bread and forgetting the salt. She remembered us. The younger boy stood. I want to show you something. Now? The boy nodded. It's part of her, too. The man followed, out in the back door, past the shed, to the edge of the fence. The boy knelt, dug under the loose plank, pulled out a bundle. I opened it. Inside, a second photo. Same room, different day, fewer cots, and her smile was gone. The man dropped to his knees. He touched the second photo. Why would she keep coming back? Because she thought if she stayed, she could change the ending. The man stared at his hands. I think she did, he whispered. The older boy stepped beside them. Then make it count. The man looked up. How? The boy held up the first photo. We start with names. The man nodded. His mother's face looked back at him. Not proud, not broken, just tired, and still holding something no one had given her permission to keep. He was almost asleep when the younger one spoke, voice thick with sleep, lips barely moving. Don't take us back to the White Cross house. The man froze. The boy's eyes didn't open. He waited, thought maybe he imagined it. Maybe the room didn't say what he thought it said. But then again, don't take us back there. The man sat up, quietly stood. He looked at both boys. One tangled in the quilt, the other turned to the wall. He walked out the front door. Didn't put on boots, didn't take a coat. Just keys. The truck rattled to life like it was mad at him for waking it. He didn't care. He drove east. Didn't know exactly where he was going. Just followed the ache. Followed where her voice used to sing. White Cross House. That's what he said. Not church. Not an orphanage. The phrase meant something ugly. He passed the ridge, the old cotton mill, the hollow that never drained right. Then he saw it, half eaten by vines. A tall white cross is still nailed above the arched doorway, paint peeling, wood split, but standing. He parked. The chapel looked empty but not broken, like someone had closed it carefully, then vanished. He stepped onto the porch. The boards groaned. He tried the door. Locked. He stepped back, looked up at the cross. It was metal, bolted. He stared at it long enough to forget why he came, then turned. I walked around the side. The windows were blacked out. No glass, just boards. No wind, no birds. Around the back, the ground dipped, a patch of clearing. Too neat, too flat. He stepped off the path. The earth gave slightly beneath his boots. He crouched, ran a hand over the dirt, soft, damp, disturbed. He pressed his palm down hard. It sank. He stood fast. I looked around. I saw the pattern now. 5, 6, maybe more. All the same size, same shape. He walked to the center, bent down again, dug with his fingers. Only an inch or two. Found cloth. Something striped, blue and white. He yanked. It tore. Pulled up a patch of something thinner underneath. Hair. He staggered back. Swallowed hard. Didn't look away. Just said no. He walked the rest of the yard. I counted 13 spots, some sunken, some not. He didn't touch them again. He walked back to the truck, sat behind the wheel, didn't turn the engine yet, just sat, hands gripping nothing. Then he spoke aloud. I saw her kneel in a place like this. His voice felt foreign. I was 5. She told me to look away. He stared out at the trees. She thought I did. The sky was starting to change, blue eating black. He turned the key. The truck groaned, started. He backed up slowly. One glance in the mirror. White Cross is still there, watching like it had always known he'd come. He made it home just before light. The boys were still asleep. He walked to the sink, washed the dirt off his hands. The youngest stirred, sat up. You went, the boy said. The man didn't turn. Yeah. You saw it? I did. The older one sat up too. How many? Too many. The younger one looked at him. You dig? No. Why not? They're already found. The boys didn't speak. He turned around, leaned against the counter. Why call it the White Cross House? The younger one answered, 'Cause they prayed while they did it. And you remember it? The boy nodded. They said if you heard your name during prayer, you were chosen. Chosen for what? To leave. The older boy added, nobody ever came back. The man felt his chest tighten. He whispered, your name. The younger one nodded. They said it twice. I ran before they said it a third time. The man wiped his face with his hands. "What do you want me to do?" "Bury them right." "I don't even know who they were." "You don't need names." The older boy looked down. "You just need a shovel." The man didn't speak. The room felt smaller. He sat down across from them. "They use the hymn," he said, "to line you up." "Yeah. And she was there. She never stopped singing. Even when she cried, the man's voice cracked. She was trying to keep you alive. We know." The younger boy climbed down from the couch. I walked over, put the torn fabric in the man's hand. I pulled it once. Before we ran, the man unfolded it. Blue and white, the same cloth he found buried. He closed his eyes. And for a second, he swore he could hear her voice humming again. But this time, it didn't sound like comfort. It sounded like an apology. The man stood at the sink staring into the morning fog. Steam curled off the coffee in his hand. The boys were behind him, too quiet. They hadn't spoken since he told them about the graves. He was about to turn when he saw it. Movement. A figure at the ridge, still as stone. Too far to see clearly, but not far enough to be no one. The man stepped closer to the window, narrowed his eyes. A wide-brim hat. A worn coat. Didn't move. Didn't blink. The man's breath hitched. "I know that face." The younger boy looked up from the couch. "Who?" He didn't answer. Just opened the drawer, pulled out the scope he kept from a rifle long gone, pressed it to the window. Magnified the man at the ridge. The same jaw. Same lazy lean to the left foot. Sheriff's nephew, Cullen, dead for 5 years. Or supposed to be. The man dropped the scope. "What is it?" the older boy asked. "Cullen Darnell." "Who?" "Sheriff's sister's son." "I thought he was dead," the younger man said. "So did I." The man stepped back from the window. "How close was he?" "2." The older boy stood. "He knows." "Know what?" "That we're here." "How?" "He's part of it." "Always was. No one survived that fire." "You sure?" The younger boy whispered. "We weren't." The man's mind raced. "He went missing. The sheriff said he fell through the ice. Never found the body. Bodies don't go missing in this town unless someone takes them," the older boy said. The man walked to the door. I opened it. The ridge was empty. He stepped out. I walked 5 paces. No sound. Just wind. He walked back in. Locked the door. "They'll come tonight." The older boy nodded. "Always do." "How many?" "Depends how many they think it'll take." The man looked at the clock. Noon. Too early for fear. Too late to run. The younger boy whispered, "I can smell the hymn." "What?" "It's not a song. It's a signal. You don't hear it. Not first. You smell it. Soap and mint and smoke. Then it plays." The man stared. "You're not making sense." "You will." The older boy grabbed the photo from the counter. "He's in the background of this." "Look." The man took it. Looked close. Far left, barely in frame. A tall boy. Same lean. Same face. "You kept this and never saw him?" "I didn't know to—" "Look. Now you do." The younger boy walked to the back door. Stared out. "They never let us run far. They just let us think we had." The man whispered, "So why now?" The older boy answered, "Because you're the last thing she touched." The man sat, hands shaking. "He's dead." "He has to be. Then who's watching us?" The man stood. "We're not waiting. We go now. Truck. Pack what you need." The boys didn't move. "We won't make it," the older one said. "You don't know that." "I do." "We can't sit here." "We're not." "Then what?" "We finish what she started." "How?" The older boy walked to the fireplace, pulled out the old tape box. "Play it." "Why?" "Because they hear it too." "You think that's smart?" "They already know where we are." The younger boy nodded. "Let them come. Let them hear it again." The man stared at them both. "You want to bait them?" "We want to end it." The man pressed his palms to the table. "You're still kids." The older boy's face didn't change. "We were never that." The man turned to the tape recorder, slid in the cassette, paused, then pressed play. Her voice filled the room again. The hymn rose, gentle. Soap and mint. The man's chest tightened. Smoke. He turned. The younger boy had closed his eyes. Humming along. The older boy watched the door. "They'll come when it ends." The man stood beside him. "And what do we do then?" The boy held out a folded paper. Map. Hand-drawn, marked paths, rooms, names. Where'd this come from? She hid it in the lining of the quilt. The man traced the lines. This shows more than just the chapel. It shows what came before. And after. The man whispered, "We bury them." The boy nodded. Every name. The hymn ended. The tape clicked. And outside, something moved at the ridge again. But this time, they didn't look away. He couldn't stop thinking about the map, the lines, the symbols, the paths behind the chapel no one remembered, and her name written in the corner. Just 3 letters. Faded, but hers. He waited till the boys were asleep again. Both curled under the same quilt now, like they knew separation was how it always started. He moved quietly, pushed open the pantry door. It creaked too loud. He paused, waited, no stirring from the couch. He stepped inside, closed it behind him. The shelves still held jars she canned before everything went to rot, peaches gray with time, pickles bloated in yellow water. He moved them aside one by one until he saw it. A hairline crack in the wood behind the flour tin. Too clean. He pressed. The panel didn't budge. He stepped back, grabbed the hammer, drive it into the edge. The wall popped inward. A hollow space. Inside, a bundle, wrapped in cloth. He pulled it out, carried it to the table. Unwrap it slowly. A ledger, leather-bound. The cover, black with mildew. Corners chewed by mice. He flipped it open. The first page was dates, then names, row after row, written in his mother's hand. Column 1, received. Column 2, returned. Column 3, kept. His breath caught. He flipped through faster, hundreds of names. Some had dashes, others had check marks. Some were scratched out completely. He ran his fingers down the kept column. El Ramey, Juniper, boy, A, boy, B, girl with cough. No surnames, no birthdays, just descriptors. He kept flipping. Toward the back, a shift. The handwriting changed, less precise, shaky. There, at the bottom of the last full page, 3 letters, FMT, his mother's initials. Next to it, just one word, withheld. He stared, hands trembling. He heard a floorboard creak behind him. The older boy stood in the doorway. "You found it? How long did you know?" "Since the day we stepped inside." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Some things have to be chosen." The man looked up. "What does withheld mean?" The boy stepped forward. "It means she stopped playing along." He sat. "She was recording them." "She was keeping score." "For who?" The boy nodded at the ledger. "For whoever demanded order. The ones who ran it like a storehouse." He turned another page. At the very end, a single note, written faint in pencil. "If I vanish, it wasn't God who took me." He closed the book. What did she do? She lied about the last few kids. Said they died. Really, she hid them. Where? In the house. In barns. In basements. The man's throat tightened. That's why the sheriff hated her. She broke the system. She broke herself, too. The boy's voice dropped. She did it anyway. The man opened the book again. Turned to the earliest page. There, his name, second row. Under received, his full initials. Under returned, a check mark. Under kept blank. He stared. She gave me back. No. It says she did. She marked it that way so they'd stop watching. The man blinked. The boy stepped closer. She didn't give you back. She gave you up. What's the difference? She gave you a life. Not to them. The man looked at the checkmark again. She marked others the same? Only the ones she wanted to save. And the others. The boy didn't answer. The younger one stood now, blanket still around his shoulders. Did you find her? I found what she carried. That ledger? Yeah. Does it have our names? The man opened it again, flipped to the middle. Boy with scar. Brother of the quiet one. Next to them, withheld. He read it aloud. The younger boy exhaled. She tried. She did more than try, the older said. She wrote us in. The man ran a hand through his hair. What do we do with this? The older boy stared at the book. We bury it. Why? Because if they find it, they'll burn what's left of her. The younger whispered, she doesn't need to be proven. Just remembered. The man looked at the ledger again. Heavy, damp, full of truths no one asked for. He wrapped it back in the cloth. And for the first time, he saw the inside edge of the fabric. More names, stitched into the seams. Not for records, not for law. Just so they wouldn't vanish. They didn't speak all morning. The ledger sat on the mantel, wrapped in cloth, untouched. The boys kept near each other, quieter than usual. The man moved like a ghost around the house, checking locks, refilling the stove, not eating. Around midday, the older boy stood. "We're ready." The man didn't look up. "For what?" "To show you." "Show me what?" "Where it really started." The younger one grabbed his coat. "Come on." They didn't wait for a yes. He followed. They walked past the back fence, through the high grass, toward the edge of the old field where no crops had grown in years. The trees grew thicker there, no paths, just memory and broken branches. They stopped in front of a crooked oak. At its base, a circle of stone, half sunken, covered in moss. He stepped closer. "Is that a well?" It was, the older boy said. The younger one pointed. "Dry for years. No water, just dark." The man crouched, brushed back the moss. Stone rim. No cover. He picked up a pebble, dropped it in. No sound. Nothing. He frowned, picked up a larger rock, dropped it. Still nothing. "How deep?" "Don't know," said the older boy. "Never found the bottom." The younger knelt beside him. "They used to line us up along this edge. Said it was punishment for the slow ones." The man stared at them. "Slow?" "Kids who didn't learn the song, or couldn't walk in step, or cried too much. They dropped them?" The boy nodded. "Said the well didn't take the innocent, so if it swallowed you, it meant you weren't worth keeping." The man stood fast. "That's not real." "It was for us." He turned in a slow circle, scanning the trees, the wind, anything. "How did you get out?" "We didn't fall," said the older boy. "We were pushed." The younger added, "But we landed on someone else." The man's stomach turned. "What do you mean?" "There were bones. A lot. But something broke our fall." He stepped back. "Jesus." "No," said the older boy. "Just bodies." The man looked down again. "Why bring me here?" "Because you keep asking what she did." "And?" "She covered this well once." "She what?" "She nailed a lid over it. Wrote 'Do not open' in red chalk." The man ran a hand over his face. "They said she broke the code. Said she was hiding the week she was. Yeah. And she kept us alive doing it." The younger boy pointed to the stone rim. "Look, scratches, deep, not from age, from fingers." "She fought them here," the older boy said. "Not with guns, with silence, with refusal." The man crouched again, reached out, touched one of the deep gouges. He didn't ask who made it. He already knew. He stood. "How long's this been here?" "Longer than we have." The younger one turned to him. "We weren't the first." He nodded. "How many?" "Doesn't matter." The older one said. "The only thing that matters is no more." The man looked back at the rim. "You think she buried this secret on purpose?" "She tried. But secrets grow, and someone uncovered it again." The older boy looked at him. "You saw him. On the ridge, Cullen. He knows about this. Probably helped throw some in." The man's voice tightened. "He was just a boy." "So were we." They stood in silence. Then the man spoke. "We're sealing it." "With what?" "Doesn't matter. Bricks, wood, fire. I don't care. We're sealing it." The boys didn't argue. They walked back to the house. The man went to the shed, grabbed his tools, boards, nails, the sledge. They worked for hours. No talking. The boys handed him what he needed. He hammered until his arms burned. They covered the rim first, then laid stones over top, then dirt. When they finished, it looked like nothing had ever been there. But they all knew. The man sat on the last stone, wiped his forehead. The older boy set down the final tool. The younger one asked, "Now what?" "We wait," the man said. "They'll come looking." "And when will they do it?" "We make sure they don't go back with anything." The wind shifted, carried the faintest trace of something. Soap, mint, ash. The man stood. "We were never supposed to find this, were we?" "No," the older boy said, "but she left enough clues to make sure we could." The man turned back to the dirt mound. "You think she wanted me to see this?" She didn't want you to look away." The man nodded. "Then I won't." He hadn't meant to play it again. The tape sat where it always did, on the mantel beside the ledger and the cloth that still smelled faintly of cedar and mildew. He'd moved it 4 times already that morning, rearranging it like that might change what it held. The boys watched him, silent. He didn't look at them. Instead, he set the recorder down, clicked open the lid, and slid the tape in. No one told him to stop. He pressed play. The room filled with her voice. Soft, slow, steady. The boys flinched. The younger one's hands went to his ears. "Turn it off." The older one stood up, sharp. "Stop it." The man froze. "It's her." "That's not why she sang." "I know." "Then turn it off." He didn't. The hymn rose, the second verse swelling. The older boy stepped forward. "Please, tell me why." The man said, "You don't want to know." "I do." The younger dropped to the floor, hands still pressed to his head. "It's how they lined us up." The man stared at him. "What?" "They played it from the speakers." Said it was God's way of sorting. The older boy's jaw clenched. "You think she wrote it to soothe, but they twisted it, played it when it was time to choose." "Choose what?" "Who stayed?" "Who vanished." The tape clicked into the final verse. The man hit stop. Silence collapsed around them. The younger boy was breathing hard, knees pulled to his chest. "I didn't know." The man said, "We know." The older boy crouched beside his brother. The man stepped back. "That song was supposed to mean something else." "It still does," the older boy said, "but not what you thought." He walked to the window. I looked out at the trees. "They used it when they took the girls from the chapel, didn't they?" The older boy nodded. "Always the second verse. When the line got quiet, that's when you knew who wasn't coming back." The man turned around. "Why didn't she stop them?" "She tried, but she was just a song. The rest was noise. She didn't write it for them." "No. She wrote it for me." The younger boy whispered, "She wrote it for all of us." "But only you heard it the way she meant it." The man crossed to the recorder, pressed eject, held the tape in his hand. "I thought if I played it, she'd come back in some way. That would explain something." "It explained enough," the older said. "We know what it cost her now." The man looked at the tape. "You said it was a signal." The younger boy nodded. "Yeah, it came before the truck, before the man with the clipboard, before the doors closed. So if we play it again, they'll come." The man looked at them both. "Then we'll let them." The younger boy blinked. "You sure?" "No." "But I'm done running from her voice." The older boy stood. "You won't be able to undo what it was." "I don't need to. I just need to make sure no one uses it again." The man walked to the fireplace, pulled the ledger down, opened it to the back. He looked at the list of names, the ones with marks, the ones without. He took the tape, slipped it inside the pages, wrapped the ledger back in the cloth. "What are you doing?" the younger asked. "Burying it. Tonight, under stone. And if they come, then we end it." The older boy nodded. "She'd want that." "She already tried," the man said. "Now it's our turn." The room stayed quiet for a long time. Then the younger boy whispered, "Will you sing it one last time?" The man shook his head. "No," he said. "We'll leave." The silence in its place. He waited until just before dusk. That strange hour where sound changes and things feel closer than they are. The hymn didn't play aloud, not anymore, but it was still there, soft, low, living in the bones of the house, in the hush of the boys' steps. On the way, the wind folded across the fields. He didn't tell them they were going. He just packed a tin of food, filled the canteen, and picked up the bundle, the ledger, the tape, the stitched cloth. The boys followed without asking. They walked toward the chapel. No headlights, no talking, just boots through dry grass and the crackle of memory underfoot. The building looked the same, maybe darker. The white cross above it is dulled by cloudlight, barely holding shape. He passed it, turned left where the path thinned. A crooked fence stretched behind the chapel, slats missing, wood soft with age. He stepped through. Graveyard, but not a proper one. No stones, no names, just mounds. Uneven, some small, some sunken. The boys stood behind him, quiet. The younger one held something in his hands, a dandelion still whole. They walked among the rows. No order, no pattern. Then the older boy pointed. There, a stone, small, Rough, not factory-made, not bought, just a rock pulled from the earth, placed carefully, carved with something dull and desperate. Mama's last. The man dropped to one knee, ran his fingers over the carving. The grooves were shallow, but certain. She did this, he whispered. The older boy nodded. After the fire, the younger one stepped forward. She wasn't breathing when they found her, but she woke up long enough to bury this one. The man looked up. She buried a child. She stayed with her for 2 days. The boy said, "No shovel, just her hands." The man looked at the stone again. His throat closed. The younger one laid the dandelion down, set it gently at the base. "That's our sister." The man blinked hard. "How do you know?" "She hummed the hymn when she was born." Not loud, just enough for us to hear through the floorboards. The wind shifted, carried the scent of ash and mint again. "She didn't live long?" the man asked. "She wasn't meant to." The man sat back, pulled the bundle into his lap, unwrapped it, opened the ledger, the last page, blank. He pulled a pencil from his pocket, wrote one line, "Unnamed girl, Mama's last." The older boy looked down at it. "She'd want that." The younger whispered, "She didn't want her to disappear." The man closed the ledger, rewrapped it. "I'm putting it here." They didn't argue. He dug with his hands. The soil wasn't deep, just enough to hide something. He laid the bundle down, covered it with earth, smoothed it flat, then set a flat stone over top. No writing, just wait. He stood. The older boy asked, "You feel it now?" "What?" "The hum." The man nodded. "Yeah." She never stopped singing. Even when they tried to make her, she did what she could. She did more than that. The sky turned gray, not storm gray, just heavy. The man looked out across the mounds. "How many are here?" The younger one answered. 33. He turned. "You counted?" "Every morning before chores. If one was missing, we knew what had happened." The older boy said, "Some tried to mark them. Got caught. Got added. They thought forgetting was mercy," the man whispered. "But we remember." He nodded. They stood a while longer. No one moved. Then the man said, "We're not walking home." The boys looked at him. "We're staying here tonight." "Why?" "Because she did." They didn't argue. He cleared a spot under the broken awning, spread his coat. They lay close, all three. No fire, no lantern, just the cold and the press of the dead behind them. The younger boy whispered, "She used to hum to the dirt." The man didn't answer. He just listened. And for the first time, it wasn't a song. It was her voice in the stillness, telling them they weren't the last. And they weren't alone. They returned before dawn, hands still dirty from the grave, boots soaked from the field. The boys didn't speak. Neither did he. They crossed the porch like they were entering something sacred, not home. The quilt was still folded. The photo is still facing up. He set the kettle on the stove, lit the flame, then sat at the table. Both boys sat across from him without being asked. No one moved. No one sang. The quiet wasn't heavy anymore. It was earned. Then came the knock. Just one. The man stood slow. I walked to the door. Outside stood the sheriff. Not the deputy. Not a man with orders. Just him. Alone. And beside him, the man from the ridge. Cullen alive. Older than before, but not enough. Still young. Still wearing the coat like it gave him rank. The man didn't speak. Neither did the sheriff. He opened the door wider. "Come in," he said. They did. The boys didn't move. Just watched. The sheriff looked older than last time, or maybe guilt-aged faster than years. He removed his hat, held it in both hands. "Did you find it?" The man nodded. "All of it." The sheriff looked at the boys. "You remember me?" They didn't answer. Cullen spoke instead. "I wasn't dead." "We see that," the man said. "They told folks I was. Said I fell through ice, but I was underground." The older boy stared at him. "You pushed 3 in before you vanished." Cullen flinched. "I was made to." "You were smiling." The sheriff sat. "He was a child. Like you." "No," the boy said. "We were children." "He was chosen." The man looked between them. "Are you here to confess or rewrite?" The sheriff placed something on the table. A small metal box. Inside, a second. "Ledger. This one is older. Finer." "Your mother didn't keep one book," the sheriff said. She gave us 2. One for the system, one for her soul. The man didn't touch it. Why bring it now? Because there's no one left to kill for it. The boys leaned forward. The younger one whispered, "Say their names." The sheriff didn't answer. The older boy's voice rose sharp. "Say them." The man nodded. "Now, here, at this table." The sheriff opened the book. Pages crackled. He read, one by one. No last names, just how they were remembered. Boy with silver tooth. A girl who sang at night. Twin who limped. Child 14. Child 15. The child she carried. He kept reading. Voice unsteady. Then stopped. The younger boy stood and sang. Not the hymn. A list. Each name in the order it was written. Soft, clear, without melody. The older boy joined. And the man. Even Cullen. 4 voices. 1 list. They kept going. Until the sheriff closed his eyes. Tears ran down his face. When the last name was spoken, no one clapped. No one moved. They just sat and let silence return. The sheriff opened his mouth, closed it again, then finally said, "She didn't fail." "No," the man said. "But you did." He didn't deny it. The boys stood. The older one walked to the mantel, took down the photograph, set it at the center of the table, face up. She sang until it broke her. The younger said, "But it didn't break us." The man reached for the photo. His fingers trembled. "You brought her back," he whispered, "and buried her right." Cullen stood, turned to the door. "We won't come back." "You shouldn't." The sheriff lingered. "What happens now?" The man stood too. "You stop digging. You let the earth keep what it's owed, and you speak the names every year." The sheriff nodded once. They left. The man shut the door, locked it, sat again. The boys sat too. The table was quiet. No one reached for food. No one moved the photo. They didn't need the hymn anymore. They had names. And the silence that followed meant something now. It meant nothing was forgotten. Not the ones buried without last names. Not the woman who tried. Not the boys who climbed out. Not the man who finally looked.